Let me ask you a question. Are you a completionist? Do you even know what I mean when I say that? Stay tuned, because that's what we're talking about in today's episode.
You're listening to the Wellness Simplified podcast. Simple wellness tips to help you improve your life without turning it upside down. With your host, award-winning fitness instructor, nutrition coach, and wellness expert, Susie Fevens.
Welcome back to the Wellness Simplified podcast. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and thank you for tuning in. Truly, it means so much to me. Today we're going to be talking about being a completionist, and perhaps you're familiar with the term, perhaps you're not. I think it's something that comes up more frequently in the reading world and possibly the gaming world. I'm sure it comes up other places as well, but those are the two places that I know it from. And essentially what that means is you finish things. As far as a video game goes, it's the type of person who has to unlock all of the things in a video game before they can say that they're finished, or they have to do as much as they possibly can. Reading, it's either someone who reads the entire works of a specific author or a specific series to be an author completionist or a series completionist, but it also means you're not somebody who can put down a book and walk away if you're not enjoying it. You complete it even if you are hating every moment of it and you are reading for pleasure, because understandably in school and sometimes work as well, we have to read things that we do not enjoy, but it is part of the learning process, so we have to push through it. But you know what? In your leisure time, this is not something you need to do. Today's episode is sparked by a conversation I had over text on the weekend with a friend who is absolutely, positively going to listen to this podcast episode and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're talking about me. But yet I am. They texted me on the weekend with a screenshot of a book that they were reading. Knowing that I had read this book, they asked me, is this difficult to follow, to digest? Or is it just me? Is it because I'm distracted? Is it because I'm not maybe in the right headspace for this? Or is this book just a little bit weird? And I told them that I didn't love it at all, and I listened to it while I was refinishing furniture one day. Otherwise, I wouldn't have finished it. It was just like background noise for me, a little something aside from listening to myself sand and paint. And they said, you know what, it's so boring. Maybe I'm not the demographic, or maybe it's the narrator, because they were also listening to it, but I really don't like it. And I said, yeah, I felt the same way. Plus, it was kind of a weird story. And they said, thank you. And then said, I will finish it, but. And I replied, and I said, no, just send it back. You don't have to finish things you aren't enjoying. And that is what has sparked today's episode, because so often in life, we want to do the noble thing by finishing something that we've started, which, it is noble. If you've started something at work or you've started a project at home and it's no longer something that you want to finish, but you are in the throes of it now and you got to finish it, like there's no choice. Like you have torn your kitchen apart, and if you want to have a kitchen, you're going to have to finish. We're not talking about instances like that. We're talking about instances where you're watching a movie, you're watching a TV show, you're reading a book, you are working on an art project or something of that nature that is just supposed to be for enjoyment, and you are not enjoying it. In those moments, you can stop. One of the greatest pleasures I've given myself in recent years is permission to stop a book if I'm not enjoying it. Now, there are occasions where a book I'm reading I know is one that so many people have loved, that so many people have said, you know what, the first half is really quite a slog, like it's hard to get into it, but the second half really makes up for it. In those cases, I will sometimes still stick with it. I might walk away for a while and come back a few months later and get back into it and see if I can get through it, because I trust the people who tell me that it is worth it in the end. But those instances aside, if I start a book and I'm just like, this is not for me, not right now, maybe not ever, I just close that sucker up and move on with my life. There was a time when I felt guilty if I returned a book to the library having not read it, as if they knew, as if they were following me, as if the people at the library are so concerned with my reading habits that they are following me on Goodreads or on Instagram to see if I finish every book that I check out. As if they care, right? But when I stopped putting that pressure on myself and I could focus more on what I wanted to read, I get so much more enjoyment out of reading. And I mean, I'm talking about reading a lot, but it's like one of my favorite hobbies. So it's very prevalent to what inspired this episode, but just in general, okay? So I think now, right here, January 2022 is when I'm recording this episode. Right now is the perfect time for you maybe to break that completionist mentality, or to give yourself permission to not finish everything. And I'll tell you why now is the perfect time. It's the perfect time because we're in this flippin' pandemic that just will not end. I mean, it's going to eventually end. It has to, right? Somebody tell me yes. And so many of us are struggling and searching for those moments of joy. Okay? If you are taking that time that you've found for yourself, for enjoyment, and you are filling it with something that does not bring you joy, what is the freaking point? What is the point? There is no point. If you get this small little pocket of time in your day, in your week, in your month, whatever, and the activity that you're engaging in during that small pocket of time is an activity in itself that you enjoy or that you wanted to try, but you're not actually enjoying it, go do something else. Pick up a different book. Go color. Find a movie that you love. Something. Don't finish things just for the sake of finishing things when you're talking about your free leisure time, your joy time, the time that's supposed to bring you happiness, creativity, the time that's supposed to get you in the flow, that time is supposed to just fly by because you're enjoying yourself so much. Because, honey, reading a book that you are not enjoying, time does not fly by. If you want time to slow down, that is a great way to do it. Go read the dictionary, right? You can make time slow down very easily by doing something that you hate. You don't need to put yourself through that. What we all need is more moments of joy and less moments of duty, especially in our free time. Again, when you're at work, when you're doing household tasks, you can't get partway through the laundry and say, you know what, this is not bringing me joy. I'm just going to walk away. You're still going to need clean clothes. Unless you can task someone else to finish that up for you, someone is still going to have to finish it. So this does not apply in every life situation, but specifically when talking about times in your life, activities, moments that are supposed to bring you joy, if it is not bringing you joy, slam that book shut. Turn that movie off and find something that does. And if that means that you go back and you watch The Great British Bake Off for the 7,000th time, that is fine. If it means that you go search out some Monty Don, listen. If you don't know about Monty Don, he is one of the leading horticulturists in Britain, and he's been on the BBC and Gardening World and a bunch of other little spin-off shows for many, many years. And the man is an utter delight, and nothing is more soothing. Few things are more soothing than watching Monty Don rip someone's garden apart and make it amazing, or watching all those lovely bakers making food for Paul Hollywood and Mary Berry, if you're going way back, or Prue, whatever version, whatever season. I've watched them all, except for the one from last year, because we're still waiting for it here in Canada, and I'm a little bit cranky about it. But anyway, clearly I have an affinity for British things. That is not the point. if you are spending your time that is supposed to be for joyful things, doing something that is not bringing you joy, don't frickin' do it. How many times have I said frickin' in this podcast episode? That has to be at least 3. I truly don't want to dwell on this because, pandemic talk is everywhere all of the time. But right now, those moments of joy are harder to find. A lot of the things that we normally would gravitate towards doing in quote unquote regular life are not available to us right now because of the situation we find ourselves in. So please, when it comes to those times in your life where you are looking for a little escapism, looking for a little bit of a flow state, looking for something that is going to make you feel happy and joyful and accomplish whatever that emotion is that you are looking for, don't force yourself to finish something that's not bringing you joy. I spent a lot of time talking about books here, but another example I said from video games is another place where you can hear the word completionist brought up a lot. And anyone who follows me knows I got myself a delightful Nintendo Switch last year, and it was definitely one of the highlights of 2021. But I also am a very angry video game player. And actually, a little of a digression here. On New Year's Eve, I was trying to finish the last 2 bosses in Luigi's Mansion 3, which is a video game I got for Christmas, and I spent much of Christmas vacation playing the game, and I wanted to beat the final 2 bosses. And I am, as I said, a bit of an angry video game player, and there was 2 bosses, one right after the other. If you're not in the video game lingo, those are just like the big baddies that you have to beat to finish the game. And this one was this ghost woman, and she was cackling. And let me tell you, I am a bit wild with the joystick, which is what makes me angry because I get a little too into it. Like, it's a wonder I haven't ripped the joystick right off, the amount of pressure I exert on that thing. Anyway, it took me basically an hour to beat this woman because I couldn't figure out what the trick was to getting her. I had to end up looking it up on YouTube, and once I found out that I was just trying to attack her seconds before I could actually attack her, blah, 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 it doesn't matter. I listened to this ghost woman cackle for over an hour, and I was getting so mad. I had to pause it a number of times and walk away, and I could just feel my blood pressure so high. And my husband, who kindly was letting me do this, because normally I get so frustrated and I just say, you know what, I can't do this. And I just give it to him and let him beat them because he is much better at that stuff than me. He does not lose his mind, probably because he has many more hours of practice than I do. Anyway, I said to him, you know what? I think in 2022, I need to work on my anger issues through video games and learn how to beat these bosses without immediately losing my cool. And then I said to him, but right now it's still 2021 and I have 6 more hours to beat these 2 bosses and be as angry about it as I like. Anyhow, I did finish. I beat both of them. I didn't get any help, which is, aside from having to look up that one thing, which is miraculous. It was quite an accomplishment for me, but that was a digression. Another video game I had, I think it was Mario 3D World, and it came with Bowser's Fury. It was a secondary game, and I had to stop playing Bowser's Fury because it was just making me so angry, and I hated every minute of it. I was just not enjoying it in the least. It just, ugh. So at some point, I may go back and try it again after I've learned to control my anger a little bit better. But at that point, I just said, you know what? I need to start a new game. I can't deal with this anymore. It's making me too angry, and I'm not enjoying it. And the reason I bought this is for enjoyment. I say that, and then I segue to me spending hours trying to beat those last 2 bosses and how angry I got. But overall, I enjoyed it. I really enjoy the game. I like going along, collecting my little things. Now that I've beaten those bosses, I'm going back and I'm looking for the little hidden jewels that I missed at first. So I do like to be a completionist when it comes to video games, but only if I'm enjoying it. That Bowser's Fury game, I may or may not ever go back to, Who knows? And maybe next time I go back, I will love it. But the days that I was playing it, I was not loving it. So I walked away because I had that choice, because I am an adult and it is a video game. I don't have to play something that I hate. And this is where I want to end things today is the next time you find yourself doing something for fun that is no longer fun, ask yourself why you're still doing it. There are times when we get to the messy middle. We've talked about the messy middle before in projects where things aren't so much fun, but in the end, you're happy that you did it. Those things, that's okay, right? But if you are reading a book, and let's say it's a 600-page book, and you're 100 pages in, and you are still hating every moment of it, and you're not aware that this book tends to be one that is slow in the beginning and then really picks up and really gets good, just put it down. You know what? Put it down. Maybe you'll come back to it in a couple months' time, like I might go back to Bowser's Fury and enjoy it. Maybe you will never come back to it at all. And that's okay too. Don't waste the moments that you have to do something that you enjoy doing something that is not bringing you joy. And that's where we're going to end it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it so very much. And you know what? If you listen to this and you think, hey, I kind of like this Susie girl, I'd like to work with her a little bit more, you can, of course, find me on Instagram at susie.fevens. That's SUZI.F as in Frank, EV as in Victor, ENS. But you can also find me and all of my virtual classes and programs and all that good stuff on my virtual studio, which is welluniversity.ca. Easy to remember. So check those out, and I will talk to you next week.